Hello and welcome. My name is Scott Suskovic. I'm pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, and welcome to this podcast that we call Deeper Dive, in which we take a look at the previous Sunday's sermon and go at a deeper level for a great conversation. We're glad you're here. Hello and welcome again to another podcast here episode of Deeper Dive, in which we take a look at a deeper level than we can on Sunday morning on the text and the sermon series. Pastor Scott here.
Hey, I'm Pastor Ryan.
And we're in this sermon series on First Peter. Have you ever spent a whole lot of time with First Peter before?
I love First Peter. Actually, I have.
Yeah, I remember doing bits and pieces of it. I've never done a sermon series on it.
Yeah, this will be my first sermon series. I've done sermons out of it,
Right.
book studies, Bible studies, but never a series.
Well, there's some great lines in there that, of course, are part of our vocabulary. You know, when he talks about living hope, that's where it's from. When he talks about a royal priesthood and a chosen race, that's where it's from.
Yeah, living stones, right?
Living stone. So there's a lot of good stuff in there, but I don't know if people associate it necessarily with First Peter, unless you're a pastor or such.
Well, unless you're a pastor, you probably don't know where any of this stuff comes. You just,
It's
it's
somewhere in the Bible.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so last Sunday was our third installment of our sermon series, Living Hope.
Yeah.
And I always give the people a running start. I talked about how Peter says that you have this living hope that's within you. It wells up within you. It's given to you by God. Your inheritance is solid. Next Sunday, proclamation: you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. And so this Sunday then was the next obvious question. So then how do I live? If I'm a chosen race, if I'm a royal priesthood, if I'm a holy nation, how then shall I live?
Yeah, and you got to the point, and I had this question asked of me in my spiritual journey. I know you had, because it was part of your sermon. I bet listeners have had as well. If you were tried tonight as a Christian, would there be enough proof to convict you?
Yeah, that's what I heard as a youth in Austin, Minnesota, as the youth director was trying to get us away from the pizza and away from the girls and get our attention right here. I'm talking right up here.
I love how you mentioned that, because that is so true. Sometimes we go to worship for other reasons. I don't want to say the wrong reason, but it also reasons.
Yeah.
Girls and pizza.
Ooh, man, when you're 17?
I don't think you have to be 17. My wife tells me that she, orchestrates whatever she's going to do according to where the food is.
Yeah.
Right? When we were dating, that was the thing. Was there going to be food there, or was she going to show up? So I better show up.
So my point here, and I want to get your take on this too, between is there enough evidence to convict you, or the other phrase, if you were to die tonight, do you know where you'll spend all of eternity? It was part of that 1970s born-again charismatic Jesus movement, but it was fear-based.
Yeah.
Don't you think it was fear-based?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any way to think of it. I want to know where you're going with this, because I have my own question.
Well, the reason I'm going with it is that fear can make you obey.
It will make you obey.
Your drill sergeant in the military can make you obey with fear.
Yes, yeah, it's a good motivator. It gets the job done.
But it doesn't change the heart. It doesn't create a relationship. It doesn't bond you with another.
Right, and eventually it makes you numb. Right. Because you can't be in that state of fear forever. And so either you don't care anymore, or something else has to bloom.
Right.
And so if you're constantly in this, I have to, eventually I don't care and I won't.
I think about when I've never been in the military, but I've heard those that say when you're there in the foxhole and you're in the middle of battle, you're not fighting for the red, white, and blue. You're not fighting for freedom. You're not fighting for the American way. You're fighting for your buddy.
Yeah.
who's right next to you fighting for you.
Yeah.
And it's in that bond right there. That's where the motivation happens at the deepest level.
So I agree with you entirely. Not that I've been in the military or foxholes. But let me ask you. So you had this question. This was a legitimate question that was posed to you by your youth leader when you were a youth.
Yes.
So now, as a senior pastor, so many years removed, is it a bad question?
No, it's not a bad question. It's what it gets at is consistency. What the youth leader was trying to do was there's got to be some consistency between what's in your heart and how you live your life.
Okay.
Because that was a big thing again growing up. You don't want to be a hypocrite. Don't want to be a hypocrite.
Who wants to be a hypocrite?
I
Of
don't want
course
to be a
not.
hypocrite. So it wasn't a bad reason. It was a dubious kind of tactic because Peter wants the same thing. He wants the same consistency in the heart and the hands. You're chosen. You're a royal priesthood. You're a holy nation. Therefore, you ought to look and taste and smell different from the rest of the people.
Yeah.
But it's grace-based.
So that's the Jesus I know, right? He
Right.
didn't come and say, "Hey, you better do this because
Or
I'm gonna, I don't know, spank you or something." I don't know what would Jesus have said. He didn't do that. He showed us how much he loved us and did it himself. And
Yeah.
then he said, "Hey, guess what? Follow me."
Yeah. And I think that makes all the difference. Certainly with our relationship with God. But, can you imagine other areas in which leading with grace is far better than leading with fear? In some places, fear works. That is, in the judicial system, the fear of punishment, imprisonment, even a death penalty, hopefully will stop a bad guy at least to think twice. If I do this, this is the consequence. That is fear-based.
Yeah.
The police officer isn't trying to invite him to his birthday party and create a relationship. It's got to be fear-based too. But I'm thinking about raising your child.
Mm.
Discipline is an important part. But if it's fear-based, we can get them to obey, but we can't build a relationship. Even at work, I suppose the fear of being fired or the fear of being demoted is certainly always there. But it seems to be if you're doing it for greater vision of what the company's all about, if you believe in what they're doing, if you want to work for your team and not let them down,
Yeah,
there's a
that's that
different motivation.
That's the trench, right?
That's
And-
the
and-
trench.
And there it is. And it's not the fear of the thing, it's the love of the one,
Mm-hmm.
the person. Yeah, that's the infinite motivator. And that's why our Lord does it in that way, right? Because he could have come and said, "Do as I say or I'll beat you," or whatever, right? And we would have been afraid and we would have done it. But then we would have, washed out. Instead, he did for us so that we can see how to do. And here we are thousands of years later.
Yeah, I do remember that fear-based when I was a kid growing up during that time. Just being very, very fearful about eternal damnation to hell, because we think about punishment in that respect as being linear,
Okay.
like we sing in Amazing Grace, 10,000 years
Yeah.
and 10,000 more. How long will I be burning in the pit of hell?
Oh, man. I just had this Bible study about the eternal torment or eternal ramification. That's a whole other podcast.
It's another podcast, but it begins scaring you straight. Isn't that a T-shirt too? Scared straight?
And we do that because it works, right? We
It
want
does.
you to get off of that path so that you don't go down that road, right?
Yeah.
And it works in a life because in a life you make decisions and there are ramifications.
But that I've wanted to be a pastor since I was like 17, and this was in the midst of that high school time. And there was a time that I thought that, well, I guess I can't be a pastor, because if that's the way the pastor communicates, if that's the message, that whole charismatic, speaking in tongues, confronting, accosting people, just was so not my style that I really thought, I'm going to have to go in a whole new direction.
Yeah. And again, right, the reason people are accosting people for Jesus is because of fear. They're afraid of what's going to happen to their soul, right? They're going to go to hell and burn forever. Okay, so I don't want to do this. The person who says, were you going to go to heaven or hell if you die tonight? They don't want to ask that question just as much as the person doesn't want to be asked. It's all fear.
It's fear-based.
And it's twisted everything.
And I think the motivation behind that street preacher who has that floppy Bible as, people are going down the street and they're yelling at the people. I think the text they point to is the end of Mark, where it says, "If you profess me publicly, I will profess you.
Sure.
But if you deny me publicly,
Yeah.
I will deny you."
Which is a nice black and white and tells you what you need to do, right?
Yeah, but it's fear.
Yeah. So, but it's not the way to spread the word of God. It's not the way that God has decided to spread his word. Again, right? He sent his son to die so that we could know how much we're loved. He didn't send his son to condemn the world.
That's right. If I can go 180 degrees for just a second.
Come on.
I do know, however, I say this, however,
Yeah.
I do know individuals who have come to faith in a deep, lasting, saving faith out of fear. I've had a couple of people come up to me and say, I would, living like a tomcat until my best friend came up to me and put his finger right in my chest, tapped me and said, "Do you know where you're going to spend eternity if you continue on?" And it woke him up. So, I don't want to discount it altogether because different people respond to different messages.
I think there's a beauty there. I'm glad that you brought that up. But my bet is that his relationship didn't stay there. That's the thing that got him out of he got scared straight, right?
It woke him from his slumber.
He's out of the rut and now he's going on a new path. He's on the way instead of his way. And my bet is that along that way, he learned about the grace and love of God. And that's what sustains him.
I think you're right. For him, he needed that fear of consequences.
And there are consequences.
Yes.
We would be disingenuous to say otherwise.
Absolutely. But he didn't stay there. He didn't live his adult, mature life as a fearful person.
I think that's fine and beautiful. I love that. That's
Yeah.
right. And maybe that's something as Lutheran pastors we could maybe talk. Here's a good forum for that, right? Because we love grace, but there is a judgment. There
Right.
are sheep and goats. There is wheat and chaff.
Yeah.
Right? There is a winnowing.
And maybe that is another conversation that we need. And I'm sure that just as those individuals in the 70s err on the side of fear, we probably err on the side of grace. But I would say this. You can put that on my tombstone. He erred on the side of grace.
Here lies Scott Suskovic, loved grace too much.
Yeah, I love grace too much. Well, now you're up to bat on Sunday as we get into the fourth installment of 1 Peter. Any snippet, any preview, what should we look for?
So you talked about this consistency, and I'm going to continue on that theme.
Yeah.
Right, that there is an internal reality, right? You love Jesus. Then there should be an external reality that shows your love for Jesus. And that love is suffering. And we all suffer for something, right? Whether it's waiting in line at Taco Bell at midnight behind all the Uber drivers so that you can get your crunchy taco, or getting up early in the Sunday morning with your kids so you can worship your Lord.
Yeah.
Right? There's something that we suffer for. There's an internal reality, and it manifests externally, that consistency. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what that looks like and how that's not optional.
Yeah, for some it's inconvenience.
Yeah.
And some, it's a huge sacrifice. You were giving a Bible study this morning to the staff based on the text. And I was thinking about the introduction to that movie, The Mission.
That's an old one.
Yeah, old. Robert
Yeah.
Duvall. And the thing begins with European missionary. This is maybe in the 1700s, 1600s. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But They're playing some classical music, beautiful music. And this guy is nailed to a cross and he's floating down a river backwards.
Oh.
And then the beginning ends with him going over the waterfall.
Oh, what?
Because the tribe to which he was preaching
Okay.
rebelled so much against him
Oh.
that they killed him. And the very next scene is another group of missionaries
Oh, yeah.
going in, knowing they're going to suffer.
There it is. And there's reasons to suffer, and for Jesus, they're all good.
Good deal. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad that you're here. Stay with us for this next sermon on 1 Peter as we continue through this little book.